it out. But I think on top of that, what's kept it going for so long is the survivorship bias, right? If 10 or 15 or whatever the number was percent of restaurants, because let's be real, you're on a Friday and Saturday night, you're also competing with restaurants and other things to do. If 10 or 15% went out of business, as long as you stayed open, then you get all that business in the end.
Yep.
So you get to ride out with
Yep.
that.
That's what we're seeing. So, how long will that continue? Who knows? At
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, it all depends on what happens with the economy and so forth. But I feel very
Mm-hmm.
confident our industry is in a very good place. Um, we can talk about, well, historically, bowling's been digressing for the last 50 years. Sure. In the early 70s, we may have had 10,000 bowling centers and 10
Mm-hmm.
million sanctioned league bowlers. And now we're down to 4,000 centers and a million sanctioned league bowlers. That doesn't mean bowling's dying. There's a lot
Right.
of other elements that are happening, right? So it just means that those that have survived are doing better at what they should be doing in our industry. And that's teaching the game and the sport for youth programs, providing a welcoming environment for the league bowlers, and of course for open play, for date night and corporate outings, and having another reason for a consumer to come to your bowling center besides just bowling and a slice of pizza.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know exactly what the stat is. I think it's almost 70 million people bowl a year. So I
Mhm.
think it's just changed, right? It's we're comparing stats from one era against a different environment today, where I think more people bowl than ever, but it just looks different, right? They're not signing up for sanctioned leagues, but they're coming in as an activity, and they want bowling to maybe be one of the things that they do. So they're there to, like you said, their arcade, or they might want to do a couple different activities. So I think as long as these centers are kind of following with the trends of what people want, they're not going to have any problem, growing and increasing business.
Agree totally. That's absolutely,
Mm.
you nailed it. It just looks different. And
Yeah.
we, as proprietors, to be successful, have had to learn to adjust to that. We've had to
Hmm.
learn to come up with products that does appeal to those people that don't want to sign up for the 36-week
Yeah.
traditional league base that they're used to. So we've had a lot of success in a program the last year and a half that we signed up for, a marketing program that generated 238 brand new bowlers into our little 24 lane center in a town of 40,000 people.
Hmm.
Um, and it, again, we're willing to try things. And when we were successful there because we saw the product, we tweaked it a little bit for our neck of the woods. We had a first class person running the front counter that had complete control of that environment, and they kept re-signing up. These were
Hmm.
8-week fun leagues for
Right.
non-bowlers, and they just kept signing up. And oh, by the way,
Yeah.
after the second time in, there was a bowling ball purchase and a bowling shoes
Right.
purchase, oh, and a
Hmm.
bag purchase, and then the food and beverage. So it's been very successful for us. We're going to continue running that. And so those are the little things that we're looking for that we picked up in the networking world, if you will. Oh, I heard this guy was trying this out. Let's try it here. Who do we contact? Boom. Get on the phone, find out the details. Here's how we'll work it out. And it's been extremely successful for us.
Hmm. I mean, two things really stick out to me there. One is it's funny, right? How they won't sign up for a 32-week league, but they'll do 4 8s in a row, right?
Yes,
It's kind of
exactly.
ironic. Like, yeah, it's the
Exactly.
same thing, but yeah, you just call it, what is it, two and a half dozen or whatever the saying is. It's the same thing, but end result. And the second piece is that you guys are going with what the demand is. So, if there's whisperings of bowling dying, I think if you are still in that traditional, you got to do a sanctioned league, you got to do 36 weeks a year, then it probably kind of feels like it is dying. But if you're going with what people want, then it definitely isn't. I mean, like
Agreed.
you said, you are busier than ever because you're willing to make those changes. If you're
Yeah,
not willing to get with what people want, what the market demands, then yeah, it's going to feel, it's going to get tough.
it is. We're in a community where we have uh, three cities in a triangle within 25 miles radius and about 350,000 population that we can attract to. So we have two centers in our town. of 40,000. There's 3 centers in the town just east of us, 15 miles, with 3 centers, and then a town of 75,000 just south of us, 15 miles, that has 2 centers.
Mhm.
My knowledge in this triangle, we're the only one that still has 5-person leagues, and we have 2 nights of 24 teams of 5. So
Wow.
we're doing something successful there because we've had a waiting list in each run, in each
Yeah.
one. And so we came up with, well, we didn't come up with it. We just found this unique league program called the Ultimate Bowling League. We put those in those 2 leagues, and it's been very successful because it's attractive how it's designed and set up. And those leagues are 32 and 34 weeks, which is still
Mm.
pretty nice, right?
Yeah.
But most every other bowling center in the area is trios, very few even 4-person leagues. So that
Mm.
makes a difference at the bottom line when we're talking about 24 lane center and I have 120 bowlers
Right.
income versus 90 or
Right.
60,
That's a lot more
depending on how
lineage.
many. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So,
So yeah. So tell me, what are you guys doing that's making that league so successful? What's the structure? What do you think it is that is
so the
contributing?
Ultimate Bowling League was designed quite a few years ago. This gentleman, I can't think of his name now, out of Florida, I think is where he was from. So 24 teams, we divide them up into 4 divisions of 6 teams. And
Hmm.
in those divisions, you are bowling within the division with comparable team averages. So
Okay.
we run our leagues at 100% handicap. And with that, the top 6 team averages are in the first division, all the way down to the bottom 6 teams in team average are in the bottom division. And then we run thirds, and then the last 3 weeks of each third, we double the point value. So everybody's involved all 3 weeks, even though week 1 of the 3-week playoffs is a position round within that division. So after that week is over, you'll have 4 division winners. So the second week of the playoffs, those 4 division winners will bowl against each other,
Hmm.
A and B against each other, and then C and D. And then those 2 winners will bowl third week for the third championship, if you will, and an automatic spot into the league championship at the end of the
Okay.
year.
Hmm.
But even though we're down to 2 teams on that third playoff week, we're still bowling for double points, and we pay prize fund based on points won. So you can get real hot those last 3 weeks
Right.
and start making some money. We also
Keeps
give
it
out
exciting.
we give out a small cash token for the playoffs as well. For each match you win, you get $50 per team, $10 a bowler.
Hmm.
So you could sweep the playoffs and win $150 per team each
Yeah.
third, and then we'll throw in a fourth team for wild card best win loss record into the league championship at the end of the year. So, and if you've been around bowling long enough, you've seen so many leagues start disintegrating because we have teams that aren't compatible with each other within that
Right.
league. You'll have super
Hmm.
strong teams and you have some super weak teams. Well, those weak
Hmm.
teams realize I can't beat those guys,
Yeah.
so I'm out. But our
Exactly.
yeah, and so we've done a spreadsheet over the last 10 years of how that looks, and it's blended very nicely. Teams from the lower division have been very competitive at the end of the year
Hmm.
every year.
Yeah.
Teams with loaded high averages not necessarily have done that great. Um, in a 5-man league, and I'll use my team as an example, I have a 7-man roster. So depending on which 5 guys are there that night is where we should be competitively. And then,
Hmm.
of course, once the shoes come on and the lanes come on, who bowls more over their average that night wins the points at
Hmm.
100% handicap. So um, people look at it and start, well, what are the negatives to it? Yeah, can people start sandbagging a little bit? Well, we've thrown in a rule there. We keep our last year's average for the first 9 games. So
Mm.
you're going to sacrifice 3 weeks of bowling just to try to lower your average, and then you got to
Right.
take a chance for the. So we've come around, and people like that. So
Right.
that's kind of what we've done with those 2 leagues. They've both been extremely successful. We're even trying to implement that design into. I've got 24 teams of trios on Tuesday night. I
Hmm.
think they've just gone to it as well. They've seen how successful they are in the other leagues, so they're going to try it. So